Joining me from London is writer, broadcaster and commentator Esther Krakue. Esther, great to see you, but this is just incredible. Is this seriously true that you could break the law by holding up a sign that offends supporters of an illegal terrorist group?
It's incredible. I mean, we have to look at where this is coming from. Why are the police in this country that are collectively resolving less than 6% of burglaries and have been doing so for over the past 5 years on average? Why are they going to people's houses, arresting them, going with 6 police officers to arrest people over tweets, for example? Well, this stems from the fact that this is easy. This is easy policing for them. They don't have to, break up fights outside of bars. Instead, they're going to people, to gentlemen like this and saying, actually, why are you potentially offending people that are supporting a designated terrorist group here in the UK? I mean, there's even a more egregious story of a former police officer with the Kent police force that had 6 officers turn up to his house because they were scared that he might throw some free speech at them, and started going through his things, saying that he had Brexity content all over the fact that he tweeted something which was basically warning about the rise of anti-Semitism here in Britain. These stories are becoming more and more ridiculous, and you just have to wonder, why are the police doing this? Do they have nothing better to do? And the reality is, it's easy pickings. They don't care that they're tanking Britain's international reputation by choosing to go after people for social media posts instead of actually resolving real crime. This is easy, low-hanging fruit for them. So this is what they're doing.
It's just extraordinary, unbelievable. Meanwhile, King Charles is taking on US President Donald Trump, who said he wants Canada to be America's 51st state. He says he's very determined to do that, to have that done. Well, Charles is going to Canada to demonstrate that Canada is not for sale, that Canada is, well, Esther, it's sort of his as its king. Is this trip really as political as I've just made out it to be?
Well, it's not as political, but it will be a feature. Unfortunately, this is what Donald Trump has forced a 70-something-year-old man who's undergoing cancer treatment and trying his best to be king of his country. This is what he's forced him to have to do. He's going to Ottawa next week for 2 days, and one of the things he will reiterate is the fact that Canada is not for sale. Now, I know people are saying this is a meme that Donald Trump has been bandying around to try and distract from other things, but let's not forget, this is basically one of the things that won Mark Carney the election, much to the dismay of many conservatives around the world. So the king, who's still technically the head of state of Canada, has to say something, because if not, people will be wondering, well, what exactly is the point of you? Why is your face on our money, for example? So unfortunately, the king will have to make that point. And I'm sure Donald Trump will be amused to have got the attention of King Charles once again, which is not something that I'm sure he'll be bothered by.
He'll be less amused if he doesn't get the invitation that King Charles gave him to come and visit him at the palace.
Yeah.
Europe invented the welfare state, Esther. And now, of course, it's paying, and not just because a lot of people from the third world are flooding to Europe to get some of that dosh. In fact, Denmark has just raised the retirement age to 70. That's the highest in Europe. 70 years old. How's that going to go down?
Like a lead balloon, as I'm sure you can imagine. Look, it's no surprise that the birth rates have been falling, not just across the West, but the West, but many developed countries. But the solution to patching that up isn't to import half of the developing world and assume that the cultures will just gel together. 1, because it's a short-term fix. 2, because you have a lot of social instability. And 3, all those immigrants that you're importing are also going to get old one day and are also going to be expecting their pensions. And then so you're going to have to keep up this steady stream. It's almost like a Ponzi scheme of finding and sourcing young people from all over the world with cultures that may not be similar to the native culture. And it's just a huge problem. And this is why you're seeing this sort of rise in really anti-immigrant sentiment across many of the developed world. The question about trying to encourage birth rates and also to improve technological development to actually replace the humans that are not being born, these are the conversations that need to be had. But unfortunately, much of Europe is still lagging behind. And we'll see, our countries go the way of Japan or Korea, whose birth rates are basically in the toilet.
Yeah, but meanwhile, I've seen your Prime Minister talking very tough suddenly on immigration, like he's, from the far right almost. Well, not quite. Whether he means is another thing.
Yes, I know. The same man who voted against every immigration reform bill since 2015 has suddenly become the UK's border czar. You are as surprised as I am, because this is like a Houdini. 180 Act. And of course, he's not going to do anything. You know, he's bragging that only almost 500,000 people immigrated to the UK over the last year, as if it's something to be proud of, even though he voted against virtually every single bill to try and control that influx anyway. So, you know, none of the country buys it. And it looks like much of Europe is going the same way.
Esther Kraku, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.